studios going at once, so the band was in one studio, the cast was in another, the soloists were in another booth, so it's very complex because you're recording these things in basically one day, for the most part. And we decided that the way that we were going to do this particular record was that we were just going to run it down and start from the very beginning, which is not normally the way to do it, and just keep going. And as we started that process, people were starting to lose their voices in the middle of the recording. Will Swenson, he lost his voice, and and because they're doing this thing 8 times a week, and to have to come in on their days off and it's, I think it's a lot of ways cruel that we have to do it this way, but the union actually, to their credit, they've given us a reprieve where we don't have to do it that way now in the future. It's like, I don't know if you know this, but basically, the actors get a week's salary for every 8 hours they're in the studio, which is a great thing. For the actors, no, as they should be getting paid. I mean, they deserve it. But the problem is that you have to then really schedule very, very carefully, and so if it used to be that you could do your 8 hours, and then if you wanted to do another session for 4 hours, they got half a second, so you do it, but now we've complained because it's like we're about the safety, we want to protect their voices. So wouldn't it be better if you spread out that 8 hours over a few days, and they didn't have to
do the entire show
do the entire show,
yes.
3 takes, over and over after they've rehearsed. So maybe there's a way that we can spread it out a little bit. And also with the technology that exists now, I think that these rules are very antiquated. And you used to be, you're in a big room, you're with an orchestra, and you just fucking belt out the show. But it's different now. You're able to really isolate and fine tune in a way and that's why the records sound different than they sounded a long time ago. But that is the challenge. And that particular show, Hair, it was hard. That was a hard one. Funny, like Laura, I love Laura Benanti. We did the She Loves Me album, and she had a woman stand behind her. And I don't know if she'd want me to tell this story, but I just found it hysterically funny. But she had a woman stand behind her who was kind of her vocal massager. I don't want to say fluffer, but massager.
Do you know what people would pay to be Laura Benanti's fluffer? I would do it for free.
But when she would hit a note, the hand went somewhere, and to get it out, and I'm not sure where the hand went. I asked, but it was really
helpful.
That to me, it was
because that sounds incredible.
Well, the album, that album we did very old school. It was because there was no synthesizers. I love albums and there's no synthesizers. It was just the orchestra. Usually everybody has headphones on. Nobody had headphones on. We recorded it like it was a show, and I think that and with a fluffer who was behind her, yeah.
Or a colonoscopy.
Listen, if it works, don't knock it.
Are you kidding? Anything that Laura does, whatever. I want all the phone numbers and all the things.
She also massaged the throat, she did this thing. So I said, what are you doing? And she said, I'll do it on you. I was like, oh, okay. And so she grabbed my throat and squeezed it so hard, and I guess what it does is it opens it up to. I don't know what it does, but it's like she squeezed it, and I'm like, wow. And but God love her. She makes beautiful music.
Clench.
Yeah.
And then
it opens it up.
Gets you tired and stuff, so get in there. Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's intense.
Well, that whole album is divine, and I could listen to Vanilla Ice Cream over and over again. It's one of like my go-to feel better songs for my life.
Now you'll think about the ice cream differently.
I don't know if any of this could be in the final episode.
And room exclusive.
Yes, yes, little known fact, we're all in this together, and it's all love. It's all love. I wanted to take a moment to see if any of you have any questions, and the way I will do it, so to be sure that the question is on the recording, is I will repeat your question to my panelists, and I also ask, keep it really short, like the most truncated version of the question. Okay, go ahead.
So say you're producing a new musical and people are asking, where's the recording, but you have no backing, you have nothing. You're just trying to put it up yourself. Do you suggest a Kickstarter? Like, how do you suggest moving forward with something like that?
Well, it depends on when in the process you are.
We just had we had a successful run in Los Angeles of 6 shows.
Okay, of six shows.
Yeah, we did a 6-show.
And do you feel like, what is your purpose for wanting to record? Is it for marketing, or is it for, so it's for marketing?
Yes.
So the idea would probably, do you feel like the show is frozen? Do you feel like the show is like, it's like done, or are you still working on it?
It's not locked yet.
So I would suggest recording some demos, and for marketing purposes, don't record like the full, Megillah, and just kind of take the songs that you know are gonna, be the ones that are gonna help sell the show, and do it that way. And that would be my suggestion. And as far as raising the money for it, number one, since you're not going to be doing the entire cast album, you just do a few songs, it's not going to be as much money. And you just, you get some angels who are part of your producing team to kind of finance it.
My question's for Kurt. So a couple years ago, Shuffle Along opened, and I think the performances were brilliant. And we didn't get a cast recording proper, but they had made some board recording that went out to voters, which pretty much everyone has at this point, let's be honest. What are your feelings on, sorry, what are your feelings on situations like that where like material kind of goes out into the world like that, but the producers, for whatever reason, don't put the full show out? I'm just curious about insights here.
Well, that was an unfortunate situation, and the fact that didn't get a cast album, I think. Do you need to repeat these questions?
No.
Okay. Thanks, everyone who said that.
But because they're in the front row, I think they were picked up.
Okay, so Shuffle Along, brilliant show. Dance show. The question is, what does that record sound like? And I feel like that record probably needed to be recorded live in the theater, because of the dance, because of the orchestrations, because of what it was. I remember looking at that, and the budget probably was, because of doing it live in the theater, hit up to $600,000, $700,000 to release that album. Very, very expensive record. That's probably the reason that it didn't happen, and the fact that it closed prematurely, and there wasn't a major record label to step up to pay for it. So that's why that happened.
I'm curious to know the breakdown of revenue for, say, Be More Chill between streaming, digital purchases, and physical copies.
So think of, for streaming, think of every 1,500 streams is equivalent to about $7.50.
And that's had like 200 million
It's had over
streams.
200 million streams
Yeah.
worldwide.
So everyone can do the math after.
Yeah. So that's streams, right? And then for physical sales, you know, after, or not physical, physical is, you know, you have to manufacture something, so, you know, you take the manufacturing cost out, you take the publishing cost out, you take a distribution fee out, and then you're left somewhere in the $5, $6, $7 range. And same thing with digital. You have to give Apple or whoever it is their fee, and then there's no manufacturing. So it kind of is, you're left with, you know, around $7 for a first. But the thing that's interesting about streaming is that, and why I'm an advocate for it now, because there are, you know, hundreds of millions of subscribers, is that you as a consumer don't own the music. You are constantly, you're constantly playing the music, but you don't, it's not a one-time transactional thing. So, whereas if you bought the, you know, In the Heights album or whatever, and you bought that physical thing, it's a one-time transaction of whatever it costs you to make it, $20. But if you are listening to In the Heights over and over and over and over again, obsessively, or Hamilton, or whatever these shows are, People Are Chill, Michael in the Bathroom, all day, every day, you know, it's constantly 0.005 cent, you know, it's constantly monetizing itself. Or you're watching the video, you monetize the video. So it's a constant revenue turner, even though it's half of a cent. You know what I mean? It just adds up.
So how much of Be More Chill is single purchases versus?
So we've sold somewhere in the neighborhood of 30,000 physical and over 200 million streams.
Wow.
Yeah, my question even tied to his question. I have seen several cast albums that are done live in the theater. I would like to know, like, if you have done some of those, and what is the difference between and the challenges of doing a cast album in the studio versus recording live at the theater?
So the challenge of doing a cast album live in the theater is twofold. One, there's the labor expense, meaning everybody has to get paid, not just the actors, but and the musicians, but the costumers and the local one. Everybody needs to get paid off of that. So that's it's very prohibitive. The second thing is that you don't have the control that you have when you're in a recording studio, in terms of, you know, maybe there's a wrong note played, maybe there's you just don't have the control that you would have, or the actor doesn't sing the right note, or maybe it's flat, or, and that never happens to Bonnie, but that could happen that way. So those are the kind of drawbacks. So you tend to record more. If you were to do it, you record more shows, like 3 or 4 of them, so that you can edit it. But we did Passing Strange, which was, you know, I don't know if anybody saw the show Passing Strange, but Passing Strange we did live in the theater, but we didn't do it live in the theater on a performance. We actually did it on a day off, and we set up the stage like a studio, and we ran through the show twice with invited audience, and so we were able to kind of get the best of both worlds, where it felt live, but we had the control, and that's, you know, that's how we did that.
What was that?
I want to ask you, because it's such a remarkable thing, and when you talk about the girl you were in the double wide trailer and how you would listen either at the library or Barnes & Noble or the few that you had, when you had, I know you've done other recordings, but not of your Broadway debut.
Yeah.
So when you saw this CD for the first time and it was handed to you, just walk us through your experience emotionally a little bit of having this milestone in your life.
I mean, I cried a lot. I took a video of myself after the final day of, so we recorded 2 nights. That Sunday I was in the studio for, I think, 5 hours, and then next night I was there for another 3 hours. And I was so exhausted, and I hadn't had a day off in a while because I was doing another project at the same time, a reading, and I've been doing so much press. And I remember thinking, I don't know if I'm gonna get through this. Like, I was worried vocally, I was worried about all these things. And I got out of the car, took a car home, I was like, I'm gonna treat myself to a cab. And I got out and I was like, I wanna remember this moment because this is all, oh, I'm gonna get choked up, all I ever wanted. And so I recorded myself because I just wanted to remember how grateful, you know, I am to be here in this moment and in this show that I've been with for 4.5 years, and a crazy emotional roller coaster, and to just remember that little girl who just desperately wanted an original Broadway cast album of her own, and there I got it. And so it's on my Instagram, you could look into it. Belting Bonds. Just, you know, when I started talking, and I just wanted to have like almost like a video journal of the moment. And I just started crying because I'm like, I've never been so exhausted in my life. And I've also never been so happy and grateful. And I really didn't think I'd get through it, and I did. And just being like, this happened today, and oh my gosh. And then to get that physical copy was, my face is on it, you know, like, what? And you pick up the CD and there's me, like, what? And to like go on Amazon and immediately order copies to be sent to my mom and my brother, and didn't tell them it was coming, you know. And yeah, it's special, it's beautiful, it's a legacy that I get to be a part of, that I've always just admired. And it's hard work, this, but it's such a beautiful gift to be able to be a part of. Yeah.
I remember when we went into the recording studio to do Charlie Brown, the first song that they sang, because Kurt was saying earlier, you don't necessarily record in order, and there's all sorts of reasons in terms of why, from actor schedules to really thinking about vocals and how to protect them. And the first song that we recorded for the You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown album was Anthony Rapp singing the Kite song, which is really one of the most beautiful, treasured songs in musical theater history as far as I'm concerned, because Anthony Rapp, as you know, started BROADWAYCON. It's why we're here. He and Melissa Anelli started this unbelievable thing. And he really is like, it's sort of absurd, but like, he's the most good person on the planet. And I was a Ren freak, like so many of us. It was just talk about like a cast recording I listened to. Part of it was so heady because a lot of these people I knew, and it was sort of like the way Hamilton is now. Like, you've seen these people work so hard on the thing. The legacy of Jonathan Larson, who remarkably this new album will come out of these lost songs of Jonathan Larson.
I just heard one.
And Green Street?
Yeah, did
Yeah.
I play it for you?
No, I heard it also from someone else, and it's just unbelievable. But Anthony was Mark Cohen, and then he was Charlie Brown, and the idea that I was watching Mark Cohen sing Charlie Brown, it's a hard thing to describe.
Yeah.
And he's magical, he's a unicorn. But you really walk in that first day, and I imagine you feel this every time, Kurt, because if you are one of us who are all feeling like we're in our Broadway camp right now with a community that we love so much, we all lay on our beds with these albums or CDs or whatever it was that we held on to, and to be, for my first time, in a room where, forget that I was even going to be on the cast album. That didn't even, that was so irrelevant at that moment, but that Anthony was starting us off in that way. Like, it's an incredible thing. And that you are sort of you make Bonnie's dream happen. Like what you do every day with all of the Lena Halls and the Alice Ripleys and the people who are doing it talk about it not being like a moneymaker, like to preserve what they want to do as solo artists, and then to take these Broadway shows that we love so much. You know, I have kids now, and my greatest joy was when my little boy was 2 years old. I heard him in the bathroom brushing his teeth singing, "I really need this job." I thought, I'm part of BroadwayCon and for coming to this panel on the thing that really is like the most treasured aspect of musical theater, which is preserving it for all time. So thank you, Kurt Deutsch, for being with us. Thank you, Bonnie Milligan, for being the person and voice that musical theater dreams will be built on for future generations in ways that the others who came before us were for us. So for you being here this morning, and to Kurt and to all of you, thank you for being here.